Welcome! Want to speak English with confidence? You're in the right place. Every story on this channel helps you improve your listening, vocabulary, pronunciation, and speaking naturally and enjoyably. Listen every day, learn a little every day, and you'll be surprised by how fast your English improves. Now let's begin today's story. For 20 years, I believed my father was a simple man with a quiet life. But after he passed away, I found a letter hidden in his old room. A letter with my name on it, and a secret that changed everything I knew about my family. Sometimes, the people closest to us hide the biggest secrets. Not because they don't love us, but because they are trying to protect us. My name is Lily, and this is the story of the secret my father carried for 20 years. I was 25 years old when my life changed forever. I lived in a small town surrounded by green fields and beautiful mountains. It was a peaceful place. People woke up early, neighbors knew each other, and families spent time together. My father, Thomas, was the kindest person I knew. He was not a rich man. He worked as a repairman in a small workshop. Every day he fixed old cars, broken machines, and things that other people wanted to throw away. But my father always said, "Nothing is truly useless. Sometimes things just need someone to believe in them." I loved that sentence because it was not only about old things. It was about people too. My mother died when I was a child. So my father raised me alone. He cooked for me. He helped me with my homework. He came to every school event. He was my father, my teacher, and my best friend. But there was one thing about him that I never understood. He always avoided talking about my childhood. Whenever I asked questions about my mother, he became quiet. Whenever I asked about the years before I was born, he changed the subject. I thought maybe those memories were painful, so I stopped asking. As I grew older, I left our small town to study at university. My father was very proud. On the day I left, he gave me an old watch. It was a simple watch, nothing expensive, but he said, "This belonged to someone very important." I asked, "Who?" He smiled. "One day, you will understand." I didn't know what he meant. Years passed. I finished my studies. I found a job. I built my own life. But I always visited my father. Every Sunday we drank tea together. We talked about ordinary things. The weather, the neighbors, the old stories from our town. But he never talked about the past. Then, one winter morning, everything changed. I received a phone call. It was from the hospital. My father's health had suddenly become worse. I remember sitting there, holding my phone, unable to speak. The person who always protected me, the person who always told me everything would be okay, was now the person I was afraid of losing. I arrived at the hospital as quickly as I could. I held his hand. He looked tired, but he smiled. "Lily." "I'm here, Dad." He looked at me for a long time. Then he said something strange. "There is something in my room." "What?" "Something you need to find." I became worried. "What are you talking about?" He closed his eyes. "When the time comes, open the old wooden box." I held his hand tighter. "Dad, don't talk like this." But he only smiled. "Promise me." I didn't understand, but I nodded. "I promise." 3 days later, my father passed away, and for the first time in my life, I felt completely alone. After the funeral, I returned to his house. Everything was the same. His chair, his books, his old tools. But he was not there. Then I remembered his last words. "Open the old wooden box." I went to his bedroom. Behind an old shelf, I found a small wooden box covered with dust. My hands were shaking. I opened it slowly. Inside, there were old photographs, a few documents, and one envelope. On the front of the envelope, there was only one word. Lily. My heart started beating faster, because I knew my father had been hiding something from me. Something for 20 years. I sat on my father's old bed, holding the envelope in my hands. For a few minutes, I could not open it. I felt afraid. Not because I did not want to know the truth, but because I was afraid the truth could change my memories. My father was the person I trusted most in the world. What kind of secret could he hide from me for 20 years? Slowly, I opened the envelope. Inside was a letter. The paper was old, The handwriting was my father's. I took a deep breath and started reading. Dear Lily, if you are reading this letter, it means I am no longer with you. First, I want you to know something important. I loved you more than anything in this world. I stopped for a moment. My eyes became full of tears. I continued reading. I know you will have many questions. I know you may feel hurt because I kept a secret from you. But I hope one day you will understand why I did it. My hand started shaking. I turned the page. 25 years ago, before you came into my life, I made a promise to someone. Someone? Who was he talking about? I kept reading. That promise changed my entire life. I looked around the room. The old furniture, the pictures on the wall. Everything suddenly felt different. My father was no longer only the man I knew. He was a person with a past I never saw. The letter continued. Lily, when you were born, you were not supposed to be my daughter. I froze. I read the sentence again, and again. My heart started beating faster. What does this mean? I whispered. I wanted to stop reading, but I couldn't. I needed the truth. Please don't misunderstand. You were always my daughter in my heart, but the truth is, I adopted you when you were a baby. I covered my mouth with my hand. For 25 years, I believed my father was my real father. Now I discovered that my whole childhood had a secret. I continued reading. Your biological parents loved you very much. They did not leave you because they didn't want you. They left you because they had no other choice. My tears fell onto the paper. I looked at the old photograph beside the bed. It was a picture of me and my father when I was a little girl. He was smiling, holding me in his arms. Nothing about that picture felt fake because he was my father. The letter continued. The day I met you was the day my life changed. I was a lonely man. I had lost many things in my life, but when I held you for the first time, I knew I had found something more valuable than anything else. I closed my eyes. I remembered all the moments with him. The nights he stayed awake when I was sick, the mornings he prepared breakfast, the days he worked hard so I could study. He was not my father because of blood. He was my father because of love. Then I saw the final lines on that page. But Lily, there is something else you need to know. My heart became heavy. Your biological mother is still alive. I stopped breathing for a moment. My biological mother was alive? For 25 years, I thought I had lost both parents, but one of them was still somewhere in the world. The next sentence shocked me even more. She has been looking for you for many years. I put the letter down. My mind was full of questions. Who was she? Why did she leave me? Why did my father hide this from me? And the biggest question, why did he wait until after his death to tell me the truth? I looked at the old wooden box again. Inside it, there were more documents, more photographs, and one name written on a piece of paper. A name I had never heard before. Sarah. I sat there for a long time, looking at the name written on the paper. Sarah. That name was connected to my past. A past I never knew existed. I wanted to understand everything. But at the same time, I felt scared. Because sometimes finding the truth is not easy. Sometimes the truth can change the way we see our whole life. I put all the papers back into the wooden box. That night, I could not sleep. Every time I closed my eyes, I remembered my father. His smile, his voice, his kindness. But now I also remembered something else. All those times when I asked about my childhood. All those times when he became quiet. Now I understood. He was carrying a secret. The next morning, I decided to look for answers. I took the documents from the box and went to the town library. The librarian, Mrs. Green, had known my father for many years. She was an old woman with kind eyes. When she saw me, she smiled. Lily, I am happy to see you. I tried to smile. Hello, Mrs. Green, I need your help. She noticed my serious face. Is everything okay? I put the old photograph on the table. It was a picture of a young woman holding a baby. Do you know this person? Mrs. Green looked at the photo. For a few seconds, she said nothing. Then her eyes became surprised. Where did you find this? in my father's old box. She sat down slowly. Lily, you know something, don't you? She looked around the quiet library. Then she said, "Your father wanted to protect you." My heart started beating faster. Protect me from what? She sighed. From a painful story. I leaned closer. Please tell me. Mrs. Green looked at the picture again. This woman is Sarah. She was your mother. I felt a strange feeling in my heart. Hearing the word mother after so many years felt unusual. What happened to her? Mrs. Green was quiet for a moment. 25 years ago, Sarah was very young. She loved your father. I was shocked. My father? She nodded. Not in the way you think. Your father was her best friend. They grew up together. They trusted each other. I listened carefully. Then what happened? Mrs. Green continued. Sarah married a man from a wealthy family, but after you were born, her life became very difficult. Her husband did not accept you. I looked down. Why? Because he wanted a different life. He wanted no responsibilities. My hands became cold. So he left us? She nodded. Sarah tried to take care of you, but she had no money. She was sick. She was alone. I felt tears in my eyes. What about my father? Mrs. Green smiled sadly. Your father was the only person who helped her. He told Sarah that you deserved a safe and happy life. I looked at the photograph again. So he adopted me? Yes. Your father made a promise. What promise? Mrs. Green looked at me. He promised Sarah that he would raise you with love. And he kept that promise. I became silent. Suddenly, I understood something. My father did not steal my past from me. He protected my future. But there was still one question. If my mother is alive, where is she now? Mrs. Green looked away. Lily. What? Finding Sarah may not be easy. Why? She took a deep breath. Because after she left this town, nobody knew where she went. I looked at the papers in my hand. A person I never knew existed. A mother I thought I lost was somewhere in the world. And for the first time in my life, I wanted to find her. But I did not know that finding Sarah would reveal another secret. A secret even my father could not tell me. After leaving the library, I walked home slowly. The streets looked the same. The old houses, the small shops, the trees near the road, everything was familiar. But my life felt completely different. A few days ago, I was just Lily, a woman who lost her father. Now I was someone searching for a mother I never knew. That night, I opened the wooden box again. I looked at every document carefully. There were old papers, pictures, and a small notebook. I had never seen that notebook before. It was my father's handwriting. I opened the first page. The title was, For Lily. My hand started shaking. It was not a letter. It was a diary my father had written about my life. The first page said, "The day I met Lily was the most important day of my life." I continued reading. She was a small baby, but she changed my world. I was afraid at first. I did not know if I could be a good father. But when I held her in my arms, I knew I had to try. My eyes filled with tears. I turned the page. There were memories from my childhood. My first words, my first day at school, my first bicycle. Things I had forgotten. But my father remembered everything. Then I found something strange. A page near the end of the diary. It was written differently. The handwriting looked rushed. Lily, if you are reading this, there is something else you need to know. My heart started beating faster. Again, another secret. I continued. Sarah did not leave because she wanted to forget you. She left because she was forced to leave. I stopped reading. Forced? What did that mean? The next words were difficult to understand. The man who separated you from your mother is still alive. I became completely still. Who was this man? I read the next line. His name is Robert. I had never heard this name before. Then I remembered something. When I was young, my father always became angry when someone mentioned a man named Robert. I never understood why. I thought it was just an old problem, but now it was connected to my life. The next morning, I visited Mrs. Green again. She was surprised to see me. "You found something, didn't you?" I showed her the name. "Robert." Her face changed. For a moment, she looked worried. "You should be careful, Lily." "Why?" She looked at the window. "Because Robert was not a kind person." "What did he do?" She was quiet. Then she said, "He had money, he had power, and he believed he could control people's lives." I listened carefully. "Was he my mother's husband?" She nodded. "Yes." "What happened between them?" Mrs. Green sighed. "Sarah wanted to leave him, but Robert didn't accept it. He threatened her." My heart hurt. "So my father helped her escape?" "Yes." "Your father knew Robert could hurt you. So he made a difficult choice." "What choice?" "He raised you as his own daughter." I looked down. For the first time, I understood the weight my father carried. He was not only a father, he was a protector. But there was one thing I still could not understand. "Mrs. Green, if Sarah was alive, why didn't she come back for me?" The old woman looked at me with sadness. "Lily, your mother tried. Many times." "Then why?" "Because Robert made sure she couldn't find you." I felt anger inside me. 25 years. So many years lost. Because of one person's actions. Then Mrs. Green gave me an old address. "This is the last place where Sarah lived." I looked at the paper. "A small town far away." "Are you sure?" She nodded. "Your father kept this address because he always hoped that one day you would be ready to know the truth." I held the paper tightly. That evening, I packed my bag. I had spent my whole life searching for answers without knowing it. Now, I finally had a chance. I was going to find my mother, but I did not know that when I found Sarah, I would discover the final secret my father had hidden. The next morning, I took a train to the town written on the old paper. I looked out of the window as the fields and mountains passed by. For the first time in my life, I was traveling to find someone from my own past. Someone who was supposed to be a part of my life. My mother. During the journey, I kept thinking about my father. I wondered if he was afraid when he made those decisions. I wondered if he cried when he had to say goodbye to Sarah. I wondered how many secrets he carried alone. After several hours, I arrived in a small coastal town. It was quiet, different from my hometown. The air smelled like the sea. I looked at the address again. It was an old house near the edge of town. My heart started beating faster as I walked toward it. I stood in front of the door for a few minutes. I almost turned around. What if she didn't want to see me? What if she had forgotten me? What if the truth hurt more than the secret? But then I remembered my father. He spent 25 years protecting me. The least I could do was find the truth. I knocked on the door. After a few seconds, an old woman opened it. She had gray hair and tired eyes. "Can I help you?" I looked at her face. There was something familiar. Something I could not explain. "Are you Sarah?" The woman became completely silent. Her hand moved to her heart. "Who are you?" My voice became quiet. "My name is Lily." The moment she heard my name, her eyes filled with tears. "No." She took a step back. "No, it can't be." I held the old photograph in my hand, the picture of her holding a baby. She looked at it. Then she looked at me. And suddenly, she covered her mouth.
"You."
Her voice was shaking. "You are Lily?" I nodded. For a moment, neither of us spoke. Then she started crying. Not a small cry. A cry full of years of pain. She touched my face gently. "I thought I would never see you again." Those words were difficult to hear, because they were not the words of someone who forgot me. They were the words of someone who missed me. I entered the house. It was small but warm. There were flowers near the window, books on the shelves, and old photographs on the walls. I noticed something. There were many pictures of me. Pictures from my childhood. Pictures my father never showed me. "How did you get these?" I asked. Sarah looked down. "Your father sent them to me." I was surprised. My father? She nodded. He wanted me to know that you were happy. I sat down slowly. Then why didn't you come to find me? Her eyes became sad. I tried, Lily. I've tried many times, but Robert always stopped me. I felt anger rising inside me. Why? Sarah took a deep breath. Because he wanted to control everything. He told me that if I tried to contact you, he would make life difficult for your father. I became quiet. So my father knew? She nodded. Yes, your father knew everything. Then why didn't he tell me? Sarah looked at me. Because he made a promise. What promise? To protect your childhood. Tears filled my eyes. My father had spent his whole life protecting me, even from painful truths. Sarah reached into a drawer and took out an envelope. My heart stopped. Another letter. But this time, it was not from my father. It was from her. She handed it to me. I wrote this 20 years ago. Your father kept it for you. I looked at the envelope. My name was written on it. Again, another message from the past. I opened it slowly. The first line made my hands shake. Dear Lily, if you ever read this, it means you finally know the truth. I looked at Sarah. She was crying, and I realized my father had not hidden one secret. He had hidden a whole story, a story of love, sacrifice, and loss. I held the letter from my mother in my hands. For years, I had imagined this moment. I imagined meeting her. I imagined asking her why she left. I imagined feeling angry. But when I finally sat in front of her, I only felt sadness. Not sadness because she left me. Sadness because she had lost me too. I looked at the envelope. Then I opened it. The handwriting was beautiful. The first words were, Dear Lily, I don't know when you will read this letter. Maybe you're a child. Maybe you're an adult. But I want you to know one thing. I never stopped loving you. I stopped reading for a moment. My eyes became full of tears. Sarah sat quietly across from me. She gave me time. The letter continued. The day I left you was the hardest day of my life. I wanted to take you with me. I wanted to hold your hand and never let you go. But I knew I could not give you the life you deserved. I looked at Sarah. She was crying silently. I continued reading. Your father was the kindest person I ever knew. He promised me that he would protect you, and I knew he would. My heart felt warm, because even after all those years, my parents trusted each other. The letter continued. Lily, I want you to understand something. A mother is not only someone who gives birth. A father is not only someone connected by blood. Family is made by love, sacrifice, and the people who choose to stay. I closed my eyes. Those words were exactly what I needed to hear, because I had spent my whole life asking, who is my real family? But now I understood. I had not lost one family. I had been loved by two. After reading the letter, I looked at Sarah. Why didn't you tell me before? She looked down. I wanted to. Every year, I wanted to find you. Every birthday, I thought about you. Every night, I wondered if you were happy. Her voice became weak. But your father told me that you needed a peaceful childhood. I nodded slowly. I understood. But understanding did not remove the pain. I missed you. Those were the first words I said. Sarah covered her face and cried. I missed you too. For the first time in my life, I hugged my mother. It was not like the movies. It was not perfect. There were no magical words. There were only two people who had lost many years, trying to find each other again. We talked for hours. She told me about her life. She told me about the years after she left. She worked many jobs. She lived in different places, but she never stopped hoping. Then I asked the question that was still in my mind. Did my father know you wanted to see me? Sarah nodded. Yes. Then why didn't he tell me? She looked at me sadly. Because he was afraid. Afraid of what? That you would hate him. I was surprised. Hate him? She nodded. He thought you might believe he stole your mother from you. I felt tears in my eyes. My father. The man who gave me everything was afraid of losing my love. That night, I stayed at Sarah's house. I looked at the old pictures she had kept for years. Pictures of a baby, a little girl, child growing up, pictures of me. Before I slept, I found another small box on the table. Sarah looked at it and became nervous. "What is this?" I asked. She was quiet. "Your father gave this to me before he died." My heart started beating faster. "Why?" She looked at me. "Because he wanted you to have it when you were ready." I opened the box. Inside was a key and a small piece of paper. Only one sentence was written. "The truth is not finished yet." I looked at Sarah. "What does this mean?" She slowly answered, "Lily, there's one more thing your father never told you." I looked at the small piece of paper in my hand. "The truth is not finished yet." Those words stayed in my mind. I thought I already knew everything. I thought I had found the missing parts of my story. But my father's final secret was still waiting for me. I looked at Sarah. "What else did my father hide?" She looked uncomfortable. "I don't know if I should be the person to tell you." "Sarah, please." She took a deep breath. "Your father did something for you that you never knew about." "What?" She pointed to the key. "This key opens a place your father kept secret." I looked at the key carefully. "Where?" Sarah answered softly. "Your old family house." I was confused. "My father's house?" She nodded. "Before he died, he asked me to give you this key." "But why didn't he tell me himself?" She looked down. "Because he knew he didn't have much time." The next morning, Sarah and I traveled back to my hometown. For the first time, I was not traveling alone. I was sitting beside my mother. It felt strange, beautiful, and painful at the same time. 25 years of lost time could not disappear in one day, but we were trying. When we arrived at my father's house, I looked at the old building. I had spent my childhood there. I thought I knew every corner, but I was wrong. Sarah walked with me to a small room behind the workshop. I had never entered that room before. It was always locked. I took out the key. My hands were shaking. I opened the door. Inside, there were hundreds of things: old photographs, letters, books, and paintings. I looked around in surprise. "What is this place?" Sarah smiled sadly. "This was your father's secret room." I walked slowly. On the wall, there were pictures of me from every year of my life. My first day of school, my graduation, my first job, every important moment. My father had saved everything. Then I found a notebook on the table. I opened it. It was another diary, but this one was different. It was written for me. The first page said, "My dear Lily, if you found this room, it means you are ready to know everything." I sat down and started reading. "I know you may have questions about why I kept so many secrets. The truth is, I was afraid of losing you." My eyes became wet. The diary continued. "When I first held you, I knew I was not your biological father. But I also knew something more important. I was the person who promised to love you every day." I touched the page. My father had written every feeling he never said aloud. Then I found something unexpected. A document. It was an official paper. I read the title, "Adoption Agreement." But there was something else. A second name. Not only my father's name, Sarah's name was there too. I looked at her. "Why is your name here?" Sarah became quiet. Then she said, "Because your father wanted me to be part of your life again when you were ready." I was shocked. "He planned this?" She nodded. "He believed that one day you would search for the truth." I looked at the diary again. The next page said, "Lily, I hope you never think you were abandoned. You were loved by every person who entered your life. Some people loved you by staying. Some people loved you by making difficult choices." I closed the diary. For years, I thought secrets separated people. But now I understood something. Sometimes, secrets are created because people are trying to protect the ones they love. Then I found one final envelope inside the drawer. It was sealed. On it, my father had written, Open this when you have forgiven me. I held the envelope, and I realized the final secret was not about my past. It was about my future. I held the final envelope in my hands. My father's handwriting was right in front of me. Open this when you have forgiven me. I sat quietly in that small room, the room where my father had hidden his memories, the room where he kept all the moments of my life. For a long time, I did not open the envelope, because I realized something. I had spent many years searching for the truth, but the truth was not only about what happened. It was about understanding why it happened. Finally, I opened it. Inside was one last letter. Dear Lily, if you're reading this, I hope you are not angry anymore. But if you are angry, I understand. You have every right to ask questions. I smiled through my tears. That was my father. Even in his final message, he was thinking about my feelings. I continued reading. I want you to know that I never wanted to hide your past from you forever. I only wanted you to grow up feeling loved and safe. When you were a child, you needed a father, not a painful story. I stopped reading. Those words touched my heart, because I finally understood. My father did not take my truth away. He gave me a happy childhood first. The letter continued. Lily, I know one day you may wonder who your real family is. Please remember this. Family is not only about where you come from. Family is about who holds your hand when life is difficult. I looked at Sarah. She was crying too. My father had chosen love over everything. Then I read the final lines. I have one final wish. I want you and Sarah to find peace together. She lost many years with you, and I know you lost many years with her, but don't spend the rest of your lives looking at the years you lost. Look at the years you still have. I closed the letter. For the first time since my father's death, I felt peaceful. Not because everything was perfect, but because I finally understood him. Months passed. My life changed completely. Sarah moved closer to me. We spent time together. We cooked together. We talked about the past. Sometimes we laughed. Sometimes we cried. We were not trying to become the family we lost. We were creating a new family. I also opened my father's old workshop. I kept his tools. I kept his chair. I turned the place into a small community center, a place where people could learn skills, share stories, and help each other, because that was my father's biggest lesson. Nothing and nobody is useless. Everyone deserves a second chance. Years later, I wrote a book about my journey. The title was The Secret My Father Hid for 20 Years. Many people ask me, wasn't it painful to discover the truth? I always answered, yes. But some truths hurt because they show us how much people loved us. When I think about my father now, I don't remember the secrets. I remember his kindness, his sacrifices, his love. I remember the man who raised me, the man who taught me that family is not created only by blood. It is created by love, because sometimes the person who gives you life is not always the person who raises you. And sometimes the biggest secrets are hidden not to hurt us, but to protect us. Every story brings you one step closer to fluent English. If you want more inspiring stories like this, please like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell. Thank you for being here, and I'll see you in the next story. Keep learning, keep growing. Goodbye.